Testing. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes and then get started. All right, starting it now. Thank you for attending the live stream. I'm going to roast a resume live. Never done a live stream before, so figure I'd give it a shot. And this way, hopefully you'll walk away with some value just by watching me roast a resume. And hopefully you can apply those same learnings to your own resume so you can get more interviews. Let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen. So in case you did want to participate, it is through my mailing list. So I emailed everyone on my mailing list asking if they wanted to get their resume roasted. I know it's maybe a sensitive issue, so I asked people to anonymize at least their name and personal address and so forth. So that's what you're going to see on this one. We're going to deep dive into one resume, and we'll go from there. And if there are any questions, you can put them in the chat. Okay, so here is the resume. I hope everyone can see that. So right off the bat, the first thing is the professional summary is way too long. I'd like to keep it maybe 2-3 lines. This way it's easy to read. Most hiring managers and recruiters will go through your resume maybe in 30 seconds to a minute, if that. So try to cater your resume so it's easily readable within that 30-second time frame. So professional summary should be much shorter. I'll come back to that in a little bit of time on how to actually word it. Technical skills as the next section, and certifications. These are good. These usually depend on the industry. In most cases, I would say to put your professional experience first, because right after your professional summary. And that's because people, especially hiring managers, want to see what work experience you bring to the table. That's why I put that first. And the good thing I see here is, by the way, I'm going to do a mix of positive as well as constructive feedback. So you'll see me go back and forth on that. There's a lot of work experience here. So I can see this person is really qualified and brings a lot of experience to the table. We'll check the qualifications with the job description. I ask people to send their job description as well, like a job that they're applying to. So we'll go into that. Here, I can see it's in reverse chronological order, which is really good. Education's at the bottom. That's good. Because again, I want to highlight as much of the work experience as possible. In terms of the technical skills and certifications, this is usually industry specific. In some cases, you do want to have it up top so a hiring manager can see right away all what you bring to the table. In most cases, I put these towards the bottom. So you have professional summary, then professional experience, then your skills and certifications, or at least move the certifications at the bottom. But again, that depends more on the industry. For example, this case, I can see this is a cybersecurity professional. And maybe in that industry, they want to know right away what skills and certifications they bring to the table. So this may make sense for this industry. In terms of the professional experience, I can see the dates, I can see the title, where they have worked. All this stuff is really good. The formatting is consistent. There's no overly overuse of graphics, so it's easily readable. The fonts are readable as well, which is good. No crazy fonts. Let's see. Even the education is in reverse chronological order. So again, the hiring manager can just skim through that. It makes it easier. And you want to put your most relevant, your most recent experience up top. So that makes sense. Usually I'm against too many acronyms, but that also depends on the industry. So for example, in the cybersecurity space, it may make sense to include these like HIPAA, so forth, MFA. All these are important. So I think in these cases, it may be okay to include the acronyms. Now, I'm gonna go into, for the case of this live stream, I mentioned to remove the name and any personally identifiable information here, but make sure to include the address, the LinkedIn profile, the URL right up top here. And for the URL, make sure it's a shortened URL, not the URL that LinkedIn gives you. You can customize that in LinkedIn itself. I'm just looking through if there's anything else I want to call out before we look at the job description itself. I like the use of strong action verbs, like delivered, designed, mentored, promoted. These are strong. A lot of people use assisted with or supported or worked on, but you want to be more specific and stronger in the verbs that you start with. So here I can see more of a leadership, like authored, deployed, led, developed, trained. These are all really good, strong action verbs. I can also see some quantifiable achievements listed, like by 20%, 5,000 plus rules. These are all achieve 99.9%, 99% network uptime. These are all strong results that you want to highlight. So it's good to see numbers in there. Okay, we're gonna jump into the job description, and I'm gonna walk through how I look at the job description from like a hiring manager's perspective, so you can see how others may as well. Let me find my YouTube. Share screen. All right, job description. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Here, usually the company is talking about a little bit about their culture. So we're gonna, and a little bit about the company itself. So that's cool. You get to know the company. They're global. They're in these countries, best in class tooling for internal development and also for external vendors. This is good. AI and ask, what are the keywords that I should include? So work experiences and skills. Instead, what we want to show is based on this job description, how do we meet or exceed the qualifications? And if you don't have that certain qualification, I personally would exclude that unless you're working on it right now. Like if you're trying to get a certain certification right now, you can put that in there and say in progress. But I would L&D, learning and development, on knowledge-based articles, providing training, mentoring and coaching of others, participating quarterly service reviews and approvals, critical event reviews. So all of this is for tier 2. For tier 1, knowing the tools, what signals to look at, filtering. As you can tell, I didn't do this beforehand because I wanted to show my reactions live and show you how I'm going through it. Requirements, IT security, full-time experience secure in the following domains. Customer orientation with written and communication skills, diffusing challenging situations, optimal customer experience. You can also tell they value collaboration, innovation. Inclusivity is key here as well. All right, and the rest goes into total rewards. So I'm going to go through this and look at how the person meets the qualifications. So for that, I put these side by side. I don't know how to do that in YouTube. Okay, I guess we'll do window by window. Okay. So rereading that, incident brief response, these tools, learning and development, training, mentoring, specifically Security Operations Center, SOC Analyst 2. So I'm going to come back to the professional summary, but going back here, all of these are good to have. Okay, advanced cybersecurity training. The job description talked about having some training in there, so that's good. I'm going to switch back and forth, but I'll just walk you through it. Escalated tickets, so I just look for this. Nope, there's no such thing around escalation. This is really good. All that training. Here there are more things about firewalls, Wi-Fi, incident response times, vulnerability penetration tests. A lot of things around firewalls here. Including things about incidents, which is good. Let's look at different tools that are. So in the job description, they did talk about SOC tools. So we want to include that. Maybe include some of the knowledge base articles in here as well. How they're adding to knowledge base articles that are available everywhere. Training for new hires. So this is here. Don't see quarterly service reviews. So I would ask the person if they have done that in their past and where have they done it. I include it in here because that's listed in the job description, especially for tier 2 responsibilities. I didn't see around reviews. So even after incident reviews, we want to put that in there. Basically, how did this person lead incident reviews, what reports they sent after, especially to stakeholders or management. And I don't see that in the resume. I'm looking at if any incident signals were being analyzed or security signals were being analyzed in real time. So I want to see more of that in the resume. I'm sure this person has done it because it seems they have a lot of experience. We just need to include that in the resume itself to prove that this person can do the job. Filtering. The reason I searched for that is because in the job description, it talked about filtering of false positive signals. Just in general, signals need to be included. Because there's firewalls in here, I'm sure the person dealt with malicious threats and how they were blocking it. So I would include that in here. Again, I'm going back and forth with the job description, just not sure how to do this with YouTube seamlessly in terms of streaming. So I'm just walking you through it as I'm doing it. Okay, they talked about computer science. read those. Anything around stakeholders? Nope, that's not in there. Anything about clients? Nope. So I want to include more how they dealt with internal and external customers. I'd like to see more of that. Troubleshooting. Nope. So this person has a lot of, again, they have a lot of relevant security experience. We just haven't catered this resume to the job description. So sure, the hiring manager can probably deduce some of these things because, of course, there's looking at signals and so forth in these jobs. It's just I would make it very explicit. And the reason for that is sometimes the ATS or the applicant tracking system may filter it out because it doesn't include the relevant keywords. And that's been employed by most companies. And for those who don't know, ATS is an end-to-end system which goes from, which looks at all the applications coming in. Basically, it manages the end-to-end recruiting and hiring pipeline. So you can look at all the applications coming in, you can filter them out, then you can analyze them, and then put them through different stages, like the different interview stages, approval, so forth. So that first stage is where it's filtering resumes out. So you want to include the relevant keywords. And again, the point is not to lie. The point is to show how your experience matches what they are asking for. And the reason that's important is because, yes, sure, the resume is there, but in a lot of cases, the resume doesn't paint the whole story. So in that case, you want to fill in the gaps that the job description is asking for. So if they're asking for a specific leadership example, for example, and your resume doesn't include it, you want to include that in the resume because, again, you want to paint the whole story and prove that the company should interview you. And this is the reason why. Okay, the last thing I'm going to look at is are the requirements that are in the job description. So we looked at the responsibilities section. Now I'm looking at the requirements. They talk about a relevant degree in computer science, IT security. This person has that. 3+ years of full-time experience. I see that. Network security. They have keywords here like EDR products, Microsoft Defender, CrowdStrike, Falcon. I would include these as well. Network and endpoint security technologies. Again, just make sure any of these technologies that they've listed in the job description, we're matching it. And I see some of that here, like Linux and so forth. Customer facing. Again, I want to see more of that in the resume. I don't see that, and I can't search for it either. Let's talk about escalation. Nope, I don't see that in there. So I would ask AZ to include more of how they handle escalations as well. The last thing is around collaboration and inclusivity. So I want to include that in here. I can see mentoring, which is really good. Yeah, I would like to see more of examples of collaboration with other teams. And then maybe in the cover letter, they can include, again, because the whole story is not painted, so the cover letter can help augment that, and you can paint some of the other parts of the story that are not included in your resume. So that's the high-level review. Going back to the resume. So just to give a preview of what this looks like if you were to work with me, for the resume itself, what we would do is you would have this in a Google Doc format. And if you haven't yet, I would suggest downloading my resume template. Let me show you what that looks like quickly. This is available on my YouTube channel. And as you'll notice, it's very simple, very straightforward. The person who worked on this AZ person doesn't need to drastically change their resume. But if you don't have a format or a template yet, then you could use this one. And you want to make it as simple and almost like a 1999 Word document. So it can be easily reviewed by the ATS. They're not as sophisticated yet, even with AI, though they're getting there. And then also you want to make it easy for the hiring manager to read and understand it. So that's the resume template. And if we were to work together for your resume, then what I would do is I'm going to share my screen again. What I would do is we would put this in a Google Doc format, and then I would mark it red. So we would go through each of these sections. First, I would include some of the feedback that I just mentioned in this video, and then we would actually get down deeper into this and edit a lot of these, where I would go into and say like, maybe this can be worded stronger, and I would give editing suggestions on how to do that. For example, like even with the professional summary, in this video, I talked about how you can make it shorter. So for example, like have 3 to 4 lines. Well, what does that exactly sound like? Or even if you go through AI, I will give you feedback even on what the AI output is. And I would say like, okay, this sounds good, or this doesn't sound good. Basically, you want to summarize what you bring to the table in terms of professional summary, but you also want to include the key things, the key qualifications from the job description, and show how you meet or exceed them in a very succinct and concise way. So I would include that. And again, if we were working together, it would be a Google Doc format, go through each line by line, give editing suggestions, give feedback line by line, maybe even reorder some of these lines inside each work experience and see how we can make them stronger. For example, I might go and say, cool, like I see you conducted this. What was the result of that? What was the outcome of that? And in some cases, I might go in and say, okay, can we add more quantifiable results to that? And even give suggestions. So that's how we would make the resume even stronger. And I usually do that in 3 iterations. So we'd go back and forth. I would give a lot of suggestions, mark it red, so to speak. Then the person will go through those, and then I will review all, do another round of review. And then the other person will, like in this case, AZ would go and take my suggestions or ignore them. That's okay to see what works for them. And it's more of a collaboration effort. And my goal is that as we work together, I teach you how to fish rather than do it for you. So we're working in collaboration, in partnership to make your resume stronger, make it more impactful. Like this is pretty impactful, I would say, but there are ways to make it stronger. Like I said, like we could have more results, we could have more quantifiable results to just make it more impactful. And then with that, the resume will really stand out, shine, and hopefully get the person more interviews. And we'll also format it in a way which is very applicant tracking system friendly, so it can actually reach the hiring manager, reach the recruiter. So that's the full review. Let me look at okay, we have a person joining. Yes, the video will be shared after. Any questions? I'll give it 30 more seconds. And if there are no questions, I hope this was valuable. I just want to walk through and do a live resume roast. If you're interested in it, you can join my mailing list by downloading my resume template, which will automatically add you to my mailing list. And if you're interested in working with me, once you're on the mailing list, you can just email me directly, and we can work on your resume together. I also do a whole end-to-end process where we can work together to help you get a job as soon as possible. Of course, there are no guarantees, but we work on it together. And then we also, I provide LinkedIn profile optimization, cover letter service, mock interviews. That's been the most popular service of mine. So that's where I jump into. Here, I'll stop sharing the screen. Thank you. But yeah, the mock interview service is basically where I act as a hiring manager, because I have that experience from 10 years of management and over my like almost 2 decades of career, where I've also interviewed candidates. But basically, I'll act as a hiring manager based on the job description. Like if we were to do for this job description, I would pull that up, and then I would ask specific questions depending on what it is. Like, for example, if you have a leadership interview coming up, then I'll cater the questions. If you have a technical interview coming up, then I'll cater the questions. And based on that, I'll question you as if we were in a real interview. You will answer, and then I'll give positive as well as critical feedback. So that's the approach. And at that, I'll end this live stream. Thank you so much for coming. I hope this was helpful, and I wish you the very best with your job applications. Bye.